And now Nick is back with more on what the Russian military is doing and Ukraine's response.
Judy, for that, we turn again to Michael Kofman, a senior fellow for Russian studies at the CNA, Center for Naval Analyses. It is a Navy-funded think tank. Michael Kofman, welcome back to the NewsHour. Let me bring up that map that we started this evening with, that U.S. officials say is really the beginning of the Russian operation. At least three axes in from Belarus toward Kyiv, into the largest city in the east, Kharkiv, and in from the south up toward the middle of the country. From what you see there, what are Russia's objectives?
Nick, I'm afraid that this is fundamentally a worst-case scenario. It is a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. There's more than just three axes that are even on that map. And I think we can assume that the operation that Russia's launching probably has two objectives. The first is an encirclement of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, perhaps an attempt to impose regime change, which I think is quite likely in terms of Russian ambitions, particularly what Vladimir Putin had stated during his speech, which was similar to an official declaration of war. And the second is a large-scale encirclement of Ukrainian forces in the eastern part of the country. And you see a fairly substantial advance of Russian ground forces, an air and strike campaign, and this is only an initial commitment to this. This is a fraction of the forces currently arrayed against Ukraine going in on the first day. Unfortunately, I think there's much more fighting to come.
Yeah, it is day one, and certainly senior U.S. officials I talked to say that they believe the goal, they fear the goal, is regime change. President Putin said that he wanted to demilitarize Ukraine. What does that mean?
Well, I believe that this is probably a campaign with maximalist war aims. That is, he intends to substantially degrade or destroy the Ukrainian military and impose a surrender. And this is a campaign that's going to involve perhaps large parts of Ukraine. And I'm not sure it's even going to be limited to the regions east of the Dnieper River or even the southern coast.
Yeah, no, we certainly see also some troops in western Belarus who are just outside of western Ukraine, although no evidence that they've entered Ukraine yet. I'm wondering if you could talk about Ukraine's resistance. I reported a few minutes ago about what Ukrainian officials are saying, but what are you seeing in terms of Ukrainian resistance?
Well, there's heavy fighting in some areas, particularly outside of Kharkiv to the east. I think Ukrainian forces may have managed to retake the airport that the Russian airborne seized earlier today in the morning. And you see considerable resistance along the eastern, let's say, side of the current combat operations. But to the south, Russian forces have broken out from Crimea, and they're making rapid progress into Ukraine, across the river, past Kherson to Mykolaiv and Melitopol to the east. So there are areas where you see substantial Russian advances at this point.
And as you said, under this worst-case scenario, this is only day one. The vast majority of the troops that Russia has amassed at the border remain poised to fight. What are you looking for in the next 12, 24, 36 hours?
And there's nothing more confusing than war, unfortunately. And right now, the picture is murky. There's always competing reports, conflicting early reports. I think from my point of view, I'll be looking to see the kind of fighting that takes place in and around Kiev to the north, to what extent Russian forces make progress there, and what happens with the current Russian advances to the south and along Kharkiv to the east. There may be a Russian breakthrough, or the front line may stabilize outside of Sumy.
Michael Kofman, I know you'll be watching and we'll be watching as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on your program.